Music is live, the stage is set. Words like fire you won't forget. Every topic, every thread. Living stories in your head. Turn it up, feel the beat ignite. Conversations flowing bright. In your ears, day or night. This is the sound that feels so right. Music is life, the stage is set. Words like fire you won't forget. Every topic, every thread. Living stories in your head.
As always, everything we discuss is for entertainment and is speculation. Please like and subscribe, and definitely join our discussion in the comments. If you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome back to Typically Unique. I'm Kim, and today we are going to cover a couple different topics. Hello, everybody. We are going to hear from an actual person who was factually innocent and admitted to committing a crime that he did not commit and accepted a plea deal for it. And we're going to hear an overview of the case and what happened from a video that I made, and then actually hear from him and why he did it. Hi, Lucy. Yep. And then I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are about that. A lot of people I hear say I would never, including Carlos, I would never admit to something I did not do. So why are there people out there that do it? They do that. We are going to listen to, I found a clip of an attorney, and shame on me, I forget her name, but she was named in one of the court documents, I believe, talking about the DNA, and she was going to speak on behalf of the defense. So I need to do a little bit more homework on what her name is. Maybe when I pull up the video, it will say it, but I wanted to hear what she sounded like in a real case. So I found another case where she was speaking about DNA and how she was defending it. And I did my own little dog barking experiment. So I'm going to show you that. I know everybody was talking about the dog barks on the video footage that we have from the neighborhood cameras, from the 1112 camera. And then I know that there was some debate or discussion on whether there is a male C identified as DNA. I've heard people say there is no male C. It's never labeled male C. Well, I found it written in a document. It does say male C. So it's also connected to another house in the neighborhood. And it's very confusing how they word all that. So we're going to look at that. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. And I'm going to start with, this is Christopher Ochoa, and the victim was Nancy DePriest. And this case happened in Texas. I don't remember the year, but it's a Texas case. He ends up getting help from the Innocence Project from Wisconsin, which I thought was interesting that another state had to eventually step in. But I'm going to pull this up and we're going to watch the case about Christopher Ochoa. Gotta make sure.
What if I told you that one of the most disturbing wrongful convictions in modern American history began with a terrified young man agreeing to a plea deal for a murder he did not commit, simply because he believed it was the
Hold
only
on,
way
it's not
to stay
sharing.
alive? What if I told you that his false confession would send another innocent man to prison?
Hold on, I'll start it over
That
again.
man would later be brutally beaten and permanently disabled. And what if I told you that the justice system
I picked the wrong
did not
thing.
correct this?
I got it right here. You think you get ahead of the game and set things up, and then
What if
there
I
it
told
is.
you that one of the most disturbing wrongful convictions in modern American history began with a terrified young man agreeing to a plea deal for a murder he did not commit, simply because he believed it was the only way to stay alive? What if I told you that his false confession would send another innocent man to prison, where that man would later be brutally beaten and permanently disabled? And what if I told you that the justice system did not correct this mistake on its own, but had to be forced to confront the truth by science and persistence? This is the story of Christopher Ochoa, the brutal murder of Nancy Jeanne DePriest, the investigation that went catastrophically wrong, the plea deal that sealed an innocent man's fate, the real killer who remained free for years, and the sister who refused to let the truth stay buried. As we walk through this case, you will begin to notice unsettling parallels to the ongoing Bryan Kohberger Idaho 4 investigation, because history has a way of repeating itself when pressure outweighs patience and narratives replace evidence. Nancy Jeanne DePriest was only 20 years old when she was murdered. She was a young wife and a new mother to a baby daughter, working as an assistant manager at a Pizza Hut in Austin, Texas. Friends and coworkers described her as responsible, kind, and dependable. She was known for arriving early and taking her job seriously, which is exactly what she did on the morning of October 24th, 1988. Nancy arrived alone to open the restaurant and begin her morning prep work, something that was standard practice at the time. She never left the building alive. Nancy was later found inside the Pizza Hut. She had been sexually assaulted and shot once in the head. Money was missing from the safe, and there were no signs of forced entry. Investigators immediately believed the crime was a robbery and a sexual assault committed by someone who understood the layout of the restaurant and knew how the morning routine worked. Biological evidence was collected from Nancy's body, including semen that would later become the key to uncovering the truth. At the time, however, that evidence was set aside in favor of a theory. The pressure to solve the murder of a young mother was intense. Austin was not accustomed to crimes like this, and public fear and outrage demanded answers. Investigators quickly began focusing on people connected to the restaurant, including Christopher Ochoa, a 22-year-old man who lived nearby and worked in the area. Ochoa was quiet, soft-spoken, and had no history of violent crime. He shared an apartment with his close friend, Richard Danziger, and by all accounts lived an unremarkable life. What he did have was a deep fear of authority and a strong desire to please, traits that would make him extremely vulnerable during police interrogation. As detectives questioned Ochoa repeatedly, the investigation shifted from gathering information to applying pressure. He was told that police already knew he was guilty and that the evidence proved it. He was warned that if he went to trial, he could be sentenced to death. In Texas, during the late 1980s, the death penalty was not an abstract threat. Executions were actively being carried out. For a young man with no experience in the criminal justice system, the fear was overwhelming. Eventually, after hours of questioning and psychological pressure, Christopher Ochoa confessed. But his confession was riddled with errors. He got basic details wrong about the crime scene, the sequence of events, and what Nancy was wearing. Detectives corrected him as he spoke, feeding him information that he then repeated back. This is a phenomenon known as confession contamination, and it is one of the most well-documented causes of wrongful convictions. Once a confession exists, even a false one, it becomes incredibly difficult for the system to question it. At this point, prosecutors presented Ochoa with a choice that no innocent person should ever have to make. If he went to trial, he risked execution. If he pled guilty, accepted a life sentence, and testified against his roommate Richard Danziger, the death penalty would be taken off the table. Terrified and believing he had no other option, Ochoa accepted the plea deal. He pled guilty to capital murder and agreed to testify against Danziger, maintaining a confession that he knew was false in order to survive. Richard Danziger, unlike Ochoa, refused to confess. He maintained his innocence and chose to go to trial. His fate was sealed largely by Ochoa's coerced testimony. Danziger was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Years later, while incarcerated, he was brutally attacked by another inmate and suffered catastrophic brain damage. He lost the ability to speak normally, care for himself, or live independently. The damage was permanent. While both men remained imprisoned, the case was considered closed. Law enforcement had moved on, and the courts had little incentive to revisit a conviction secured by a guilty plea and testimony. But outside the prison walls, someone refused to accept the official story. Richard Danziger's sister never believed her brother was guilty. As his condition worsened and he became unable to advocate for himself, she took on that role. She pored over court records, contacted attorneys, and relentlessly
Hi, Mike.
pushed for the biological evidence in Nancy DePriest's case to be tested using modern DNA technology. At the same time, Christopher Ochoa himself began writing letters from prison, requesting DNA testing and admitting that his confession had been false. He knew that if the evidence was tested, it would prove the truth. This was not an easy admission. Recanting a confession often makes prosecutors dig in even harder, but Ochoa persisted. In the late 1990s, advances in DNA technology finally made retesting possible. After years of pressure, the biological evidence from Nancy DePriest's murder was examined. The results were devastating to the state's case. The DNA did not match Christopher Ochoa. It did not match Richard Danziger. Instead, it matched a convicted violent offender named Akeem Joseph Marino, a man with a history of sexual violence who had been living in Austin at the time of the murder. When confronted with the DNA evidence, Marino confessed. He admitted that he alone had raped and murdered Nancy DePriest. He proved details consistent with the crime and wrote letters to police and officials urging them to free Ochoa and Danziger. This was not a coerced confession. It was a confession supported by irrefutable scientific evidence. Christopher Ochoa was released and exonerated in 2001. Richard Danziger followed in 2002. Ochoa eventually rebuilt his life and became a lawyer, dedicating his career to fighting wrongful convictions. Danziger, permanently disabled by the violence he endured in prison, required lifelong care and died in 2018. Justice arrived, but it arrived too late to undo the damage. The Christopher Ochoa case stands as a powerful warning. It shows how easily false confessions can be created, how plea deals can manufacture guilt, how tunnel vision can blind investigators, and how DNA evidence can sit untested for years while innocent people suffer. These are the same concerns many raise when examining the Bryan Kohberger case today. This does not mean Kohberger is innocent, but it does mean that history demands scrutiny, because once the system locks onto a narrative, reversing course becomes nearly impossible unless science forces the truth into the open. Christopher Ochoa did everything the system asked him to do, and it still destroyed his life. The real question is not whether wrongful convictions happen. The real question is how many are happening right now.
All right. I almost blocked myself. Oh my goodness. I was tired today on the last 24 on the mic. I was up way too late last night, but we're getting going today. I had my coffee. All right, so I thought I put a poll. Do you guys see it? Let me know if you think Bryan Kohberger was scared into the plea deal, because that is exactly what happened to Christopher Ochoa. And the police did a lot of, I'm going to show you exactly what they did to scare him into that. And we have no idea how they questioned Bryan Kohberger, if they questioned Bryan Kohberger, what that was like. None of that. So, yeah. Bags under my eyes. I was definitely using some cold water this morning. That's funny. That's funny. Okay, so we're going to hear from Christopher Ochoa himself, what he has to say about this, because he explains it. Now, let me find it up here. It is. I think it's this one. All right. What if I told you? Nope. And it won't let me stop sharing that. Remove. There we go. Okay. I'm getting this. Extreme. All right. So this video is linked on the Bloom Legal Clinic. This is, I believe this is in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Innocence Project is the one that, yeah, Northwestern University, that's in Chicago, right? Illinois, talking about his case. Making sure it's sharing. All right, here we go. Wait a minute. This isn't the one.
You know, they sized me up pretty quick and getting me. You didn't have a record.
Okay, here we go.
I think the police, while they were interrogating me, they knew what they were doing. They knew I didn't have a record. As one of my attorneys that worked on my exoneration and getting me released, said, you know, they sized me up pretty quick. They knew who they had, and they knew just what buttons to push. There was threats of the death penalty, and if I didn't sign a statement or a confession, I would be executed. They, at one point, one of them grabbed my arm and tapped my arm, the vein. Said, "This is where the needle's going to go if you don't cooperate with us." At some point, he brought in pictures of a cell on death row, or so he said. It was a cell on death row. He said, "If you don't cooperate with us, this is where you're going to live the rest of your life until you die. You won't ever get to hold anybody again. You won't get to hug your parents or whatnot." At one point, I asked for an attorney, and they said I couldn't have one until I was officially charged, which the questions kept on coming, which I find out later shouldn't have kept on coming. And at one point, at the final stage, when I just broke down, I was tired, I was hungry, I was like, just wanted to go home. One of the officers yelled at me and said, "You know what? I'm getting tired of BS. I'm going to lock you up and throw you in a jail cell. You're young. You've never been in jail. You'll be fresh meat for the prisoners." And I took that to mean jailhouse rape, and that really shook me up. And in addition to being tired, I just said, "Okay, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What I do?" I mean, I guess what people are trying to find out is but still, you could have asked. You could have not said anything yet. Well, as I said, I was denied the right to attorney. They wouldn't let me go, even though you're taught in school what your rights are and all this as Americans. At that time, everything goes out the window. You just don't know what's going on. Your mind is scrambled because this is not a normal situation. I think sometimes people don't care too much about false confessions, but I think that's the wrong attitude to take because if it happened to me, a guy that had never been in trouble, it could happen to anybody. I mean, it can happen to you. It's, I mean, it can happen to you. I'd never been in trouble. I was minding my own business. All of a sudden, I'm picked up, and it has happened to normal people, everyday people. Everyday people are exonerated that were law-abiding citizens, and they were coerced into signing false confessions. That's why people should care. It could happen to their sons, their daughters, their nephews. It could happen to them.
I removed it, but I didn't stop it. All right. So, I mean, he just gave exact examples right there of what they do. I can't believe they were pointing at his arm and saying, this is where the injection's going to go. Like, you can just imagine. I mean, I know Bryan had his attorney, so I don't know if they would get to be alone with him. Probably not to be able to do that. So, unless there was time before she got there that they were able to do that. But I don't think at the time of the plea, but still, those are their tactics. And they just wear those people down, wear them down with time. I believe he went through 2 12-hour sessions of that. They scare you, they wear you down. Yeah, it's just like, what do I got to do to get out of here? Hi, everybody that is watching. I see some people coming in. If you haven't written anything in the chat, hello. Please hit the like button if you would, please. And we're going to hear some more about what Chris Ochoa went through, just a little bit more information about what the police did. What do they do to get these false confessions and accepting a plea deal? I know where I'm going. Just give me 1 second. They did things like, it's crazy what they did. Okay. So Ochoa's lawyers, let me see. I'll share this so you can see what I am reading. Maybe it'll let me switch. Nope. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. They could just make it one click. They don't just make it one click. Like, they got to make it complicated. No. Nope. This one. We're going to share this one instead. There we go. Okay. Ochoa's lawyers say he got his storyline and the key crime scene facts from the police. There isn't any way Ochoa would have known the facts about the case unless they told him the facts about the case, says Bill Ellison, an Austin attorney representing Ochoa. Allison doesn't believe the police necessarily fabricated their case against Ochoa, but that they violated every rule of taking down a statement that you can violate. Ochoa asked for a lawyer the first day he was interrogated, but was denied one on the ground that he hadn't been charged with anything. The invocation of asking for a lawyer should have stopped the interrogation at that point. The police were feeding him facts about the case as they questioned him. Allison also likes to point out that the police sergeant primarily responsible for the interrogation, a man named Hector Palenko, can be very intimidating. Palenko is a controversial figure who has been accused of coercing confessions from suspects in several other cases. In 1992, 4 years after Ochoa and Danziger were convicted, the Austin Police Department fired Palenko after an internal investigation determined he had presented perjured testimony in a murder trial. Okay, there's another example. Because when Carlos and I debate the Idaho 4 case, he'll say, those cops aren't going to get up there and perjure themselves. Well, here's another example of a police officer that did. Just pointing that out. Palenko was reinstated. He was, okay, you're reinstated. He's reinstated 9 months later by an arbitrator who attributed an alleged false statement in a murder trial to a memory lapse. And he later won a $350,000 jury judgment in a subsequent lawsuit against the department over his firing. So he just couldn't remember, right? That's what they say on the stand. I don't recall. Ochoa told his mother and others in his family that Palenko, so this guy that got fired and then rehired and gained monetarily, that guy threw chairs around the room during his interrogation. Ronald Navajos says Ochoa told him if he didn't confess, they'd crush his head. His current attorneys also maintain that there were threats of physical violence. Danziger was the co-defendant, okay? His former girlfriend describes her questioning by Palenko and Sergeant Bruce Boardman as the most horrific, the most horrible experience I've ever been through in my life. I had nightmares about this forever. So they even brought in the girlfriend of the co-defendant and pretty much tortured her, pretty much. Angstadt was the manager of the Pizza Hut where Danziger and Ochoa worked. She says Palenko and Boardman tried to link her to the crime and threatened to have her children, then 9 and 4, removed from her custody. They threatened that if Richard gets out, he's going to hunt me down and kill me like he did Nancy DePriest. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's a cop saying that. They told me Richard had told Chris Ochoa that I'm the one who supplied the gun. Another time, Hector Palenko said, your boyfriend's holding her head and you're the one who pulled the trigger for your little love interest. Wow, they were ruthless. So they tried to get a hold of Palenko. He was on medical leave. He could not be reached for comment. Boardman, the other guy, refused to comment. So they just refused to comment about this. So a source close to the investigation into Marino's claims said neither man is a subject of the current inquiry. Yeah, so that is how they scared him into a false confession and taking a plea deal. It happens, you guys. Did my poll ever show up? I don't know. I thought I did it. I don't know. Maybe there's another button I was supposed to hit. Let me see if anybody sees it. Oh, wait, I got some results. Can I show it? What's the percentage? 88%. Yes. 88% of you think that Bryan Kohberger was scared into the plea deal, but somehow, some way, a threat or something. I want to say hello to Becca. Hello, hello. Good to see you today. Everybody watching, please hit that thumbs up if you would, please. All right, so that's what the police officers did. So we're going to move on over to the DNA that I want to talk about today. And before I get into the documents, this is the attorney. It's a real short, it says independent DNA expert testifies in retrial of former police officer accused of murder. So this trial has nothing to do with the Idaho 4, but the attorney Aguirre is being tried for the, oh no, Aguirre is the defendant. Let me see if I can find her name. It just says the defense called on an independent DNA expert to testify in the retrial of Richard Aguirre. Oh, here it is. Dr. Ruth Ballard. That is her name. She's an independent forensic DNA analyst, and I believe she was named for the defense. So here's what she had to say. This one. Share this instead.
Trial of Richard Aguirre, a former Pasco police officer accused of killing a Spokane woman over 3 decades ago. Aguirre is being tried for the first-degree murder and faces a maximum sentence of life in prison if convicted. Aguirre is accused of killing this woman. Ruby Doss's body was found in a vacant lot in East Spokane back in 1986, an area known for prostitution at the time. Marissa Rio was in court today and shares what both sides presented in their cases. Marissa?
It was a full day of court today, Jordan. The prosecution called on its last witness. There was rebuttal. And finally, both the prosecution and defense gave their closing statements. While the prosecution argued that evidence links Aguirre to this killing, the defense argued that it doesn't. Aguirre sat in court today as both the prosecution and defense argued their cases. The prosecution gave their closing remarks first.
We have one dead victim, and we have one condom and one person with the opportunity to be able to commit this crime. One condom that was filled with the DNA of Richard J. Aguirre.
The defense argued that the condom was found in an area known for prostitution. She said there had to have been other condoms in the area as well.
When the state claims that it was the only condom present in the entire area, I submit that that is not reasonable, and it is certainly not a basis to find Mr. Aguirre guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Whaley with the state argued that strangulation caused Doss's death, and Aguirre had admitted to a friend that he choked a woman the night Doss died.
She talked to you about how that particular form, that strangulation, would take 3 minutes under perfect circumstances. So what we have here is time, Your Honor, distance, Your Honor. This shows a clear intent to cause someone's death.
Aguirre's attorney clapped back and said if Aguirre was the killer, his DNA would have been on the neck of Doss's blouse, and it wasn't.
So now we have Mr. Aguirre excluded from the neck and from the jacket that Ms. Doss was wearing when she was strangled. We have him excluded from the black pants that were unzipped. We now have him excluded as a contributor to DNA on the underwear that Ms. Doss was wearing.
The judge said he would take all evidence and testimony into consideration. The ruling is expected on December 26th. As a reminder, Aguirre waived his right to a jury trial back in October. That's why the judge is deciding this case. We will continue to update you with any new information.
Okay, so Ruth Ballard, Dr. Ruth Ballard, forensic DNA specialist, that's who was speaking. And it's another case, but it was in Spokane, Washington. She was speaking on the evidence, on the DNA evidence that was found in that case, and that she would have been able to argue, think about in the Idaho 4 case, some of the same points she was making there, the circumstances around the DNA. So she was speaking about the circumstances of them only picking out one item when it's very reasonable to expect there would have been other items. So think about all the other items. I mean, I have the whole list of what they collected and how they pick and choose what to test, right? I cannot find that knife on the table that was left in the living room. It's listed as evidence. It's got a number, but I could not find yet where it is listed in the forensic documents for any testing. If you know that, let me know in the chat. I have not come across the testing of it yet. Hello, Philip. Nice to see you. The dog barking is irrelevant. Enough with the dog and the people obsessed with the dog unless they died by dog. So, yeah, I get you. I haven't put too much weight on it. Don't be mad at me for sharing a little experiment though that I'm going to show, because it was just coincidental that I was sitting in my little computer room here the other day and a dog started barking outside. So I grabbed my phone and I recorded from inside my house, and then I recorded from outside the house, and it just so happened to be the same kind of dog as Murphy. But I think people are talking about it so much because they're just trying to get distance and where that dog is during the time. I think it gives a little bit of information as to, I personally feel that if like Murphy was in the mix of the crime being committed, I don't think Murphy would have survived. I mean, I think that would have been so annoying to a killer. And you would have wanted to get that noise like subdued right away. I actually was just listening to another case where that actually happened. Unless it's also telling that the person wouldn't hurt the dog because they know the dog, or I don't know. It's all circumstantial, but I hear what you're saying, Philip. I hear you. I was taking a scientific approach. I'll pause in a minute and show that. So I was just talking about this Dr. Ruth Ballard is her name, DNA forensic specialist. And so she was talking about the circumstances of them picking and choosing what items to test the DNA. She was also talking about the reasonable doubt aspect of it because, reasonable doubt that there would have been way more other samples in that area. And then, so more DNA that could have been tested. Why didn't they test it? And I'm not talking about the Idaho 4 case right now. If you're just joining, I'm talking about Dr. Ruth Ballard testifying in a Spokane, Washington murder trial. And she was defending the DNA that they had collected and why it did not exactly pinpoint to the person, the defendant. And a big thing that she talked about that I think relates to the Idaho 4 case is the exclusions. And I'm going to go through the documents and I'm going to show you a lot of the items that they tested against male E and said that this item does not match Bryan Kohberger. And I believe the male E sample was from the garbage taken from Bryan's Pennsylvania family home. So they were testing everything before they had Bryan. They were testing everything against his dad, I believe, is what male E is. Because Bryan's going to be male A from the knife sheath. And they didn't test it against male A. Sorry, they did not test it against male A. They tested it against male E. What does that have to do with Bryan Kohberger? That's what I'm saying. Like, we didn't get to see a trial. We didn't get a trial. So, and I'm reading all the forensic documents. So, and people are watching video footage and listening to the dogs barking and trying to verify that the information that we're reading, seeing, and hearing validates that Bryan Kohberger is the only perpetrator, the correct perpetrator. And we're having questions. So that's why it's important. There's a lot of unknown male DNA and untested items that could be exclusionary. Definitely, in my opinion, pointing towards more than one perpetrator. Oh, sorry, Philip. It's hard to like interpret chats. Okay. You're talking about the dog hair in his truck. Okay. Gotcha. Thanks for letting me know that. Thanks for letting me know. All right, let's take a little break from before I go into the DNA stuff, and I'll show you my little experiment. Let me see. The dog I put down here. So the first one I'm inside, and this is about 3 houses down from my house. The dog's at the White House. I'm just going to show you real quick. So let me see right here. Okay. So you can see the big tan house straight across. There's a house that you can't see right now directly across the street from me. So then that's the big tan house is one house over. And then the big white house is 2 doors down. Okay. So the dog is out there. There's a electrical utility guy that's working on the pole at the edge of the road into their yard. And the lady who lives there, she's outside shoveling her sidewalk, and her dog is out there with her. Now, they used to have a different dog. So I'm wondering if their dog passed away, because that was an old dog. And this one it's a different type of dog. Like I said, it looks like a golden doodle, like if I'm saying that right, the type of dog like Murphy. You'll see it when I go outside better, but that's where this is at. So I think that dog looks similar age as what Murphy probably was. And like I said, I think these people just got a new dog. So it's probably puppy-ish. What I observed is that the barks were deep and loud, but the mannerisms of the dog was like a puppy, like it's not an attack dog. He's not going after that guy. He's like, I'm going to come up and bark and then run away. So I don't know if Murphy would have acted like that in a situation if he was around. Maybe bark because something's going on, but then also run away because I'm scared, same kind of thing. All right. That was my little spontaneous. But if I was that utility guy, I would have been like, ma'am, could you please shut your dog up? Like that would have gotten on my ever loving last nerve. Oh my goodness. Crazy. Okay. DNA. Here we go. Let me get these out. So I have them printed so I can see what I want to. I'm only going to focus on a couple of items today. But so now I'm going to pull it up so you can see it. And what I'm focusing on is item 37, and it's 37.1 and 37.2. Slides. I don't know if that's it. No, that's not it. This is it. I have this on my computer, so I'm trying to, I'll just open it as a tab. That'll be easier. It'll be easier. Item 37 is taken from 1127 King Road, apartment 1. And do you guys know who lives there? It is the L-shaped house. You can't really see it on the 1112 camera footage. The house that's straight across, I think, is the house they call the Shark Tank house. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it's the one to the left of that. If you're facing that house on the camera, the one where all the headlights are reflecting in the windows, that one, it's not that one. It's the one to the left of it. So my question is, so they're talking about this as it's a piece of evidence. It's not at the house. The only other evidence they did that with, I believe, is Bryan Kohberger's, of course, because he became a suspect. So they went to his apartment, his place of work, his family home, his car. If they found like that blood that was outside that one apartment over by, I don't know if it was Queen Road Apartments or the Whites, that would be a piece of evidence that they collected at a different scene. But it's mentioned, well, we see it on body cam. Oh, we're canvassing the neighborhood and we're coming across a blood stain outside. So this becomes a piece of evidence. I understand that. There was something else that they did. Oh, those cigarette butts. I don't know exactly. I can't remember. Let me know in the chat if you know where did those cigarette butts come from? Around the crime area, inside the house, makes sense. Piece of evidence you're collecting. What made them go to another apartment inside the apartment and take blood swabs? Now, I don't think this is a random apartment. I think this is the apartment where Jack D lives based on the interviews on body cam. Oh, good point, Becca. Doodles are great alarm systems, but not defenders. They'll let you know something's going on, but they're not going to go after the bad guy. Yeah. I don't have one of those kinds of dogs, but makes sense based on their mannerisms. Okay. Now I pulled it up. Where'd it go? Here it is. So I'm pulling up the Idaho State forensic documents. And we're going to go to, I guess we'll start just at the beginning. Of course, I didn't bring that in. Oh my goodness. All right. Page. Takes a lot to get organized over here to know these. They do not make these documents easy to maneuver, I'll tell you that. I did put some page numbers though. Where is 4? Probably, let me scroll down. I gotta scroll down a ways. I'm going to start with document number 4. Let me see. What number is this one? They put all of the, see, I'm way down at 10. They put all of these photos, evidence photos, in between each report. So it's very hard to, I wrote down all the page numbers. And if you weren't in my last live, I'm putting together a doc. I haven't updated it yet. It's a table, and I'm putting every item number, what it is, where it was found, and what the results were. Up at the beginning here, it's not so bad. I mean, a lot of tables in between the documents. So we know Jack D lives at 1127 King Road, apartment 1. That's what it says in the, that's where the DNA came from. The DNA came from the hallway, entryway, and the kitchen. So calling it apartment 1, like I would assume it was a bedroom. Like I could see, because it's a house. It's definitely a house. And if you're going to divide a house into apartment numbers, unless there's different entries into that house, like I know some people have duplexes, triplexes, and each part has its own main door, and that would be apartment 1, apartment 2, apartment 3. It could be that. Did they go down there to look around just because he's the ex-boyfriend, so he would be a person of interest? Let me know in the chat. Do you think that's why they went down there, because he's a person of interest? Because not only am I asking why they went down there to look for evidence, I think that's a reasonable explanation why. Oh my goodness, I said this wasn't that much. It's a lot. Here we go. Oh, this is 7. But my other question is how they're matching these. So they take these 2 swabs from 1127 apartment 1. They take these 2 swabs and then they're comparing it to something. And I have questions about what they're comparing it to. And that's the latent prints. What number is that one? This is 5. Yeah. All right. One more report, one more section, and we're there. This is the DNA. The DNA swabs from 1127 apartment 1. They name it male C. And I will show you in the reports where they do that. And then my question is where, what item is male C? All right, here we go. Make this a little bigger. I'm going to start with report 4. So in this report, we've got swab 1.3 is the edges of the blade. So 1.1 is going to be male A, correct? 1.2, I'm assuming, is male B. Is 1.3 male C? I don't know because I don't think I'm going to look. We're going to look right now. Let me see what you guys are saying. Do I have... Let me see if this is showing everybody. I think it's showing everybody. All right. Back over here. Okay, we know 1.1 is an unknown male. They are not labeling it anything at this point. We know 1.4 is the mixture of Kaylee and Maddie. All right. 1.2 is a mixture of 3 individuals, but they don't know who. Okay. 1.3 is a mixture of 2 individuals. At least one is male. So I'm just suspecting if this right here could be the male C item. Not sure. You can let me know in the chat because something has to be it. All right. So that I wanted to show talking about male C. Now we're going to get to item 37 in report number 9. Where did I put my page numbers? There they are. I buried them. Number 9. Number 9. We'll start going back this way. I'm going to try. Oh, wait a minute. There's only the 200s. Because that was 4, right? Yeah, 4. Okay. Try 669. I have something marked on page 669. Oh, this was the, if you're interested, they go through all of the stains in each bedroom. So everything in Xana's bedroom is on one set of labeling, and everything in Maddie's room is a different set of labeling. All right, here, we're close. This is report 10, and we are going to report number 9. You can see these pictures of the glove and the... Oh, I wanted to bring that up. We watched that video of that defense attorney, Ruth Ballard, and she was talking about how if the victim was choked, there should have been DNA from the perpetrator on the victim. So she's talking about the DNA that obviously wasn't collected, it seems like. So I know they mentioned something about asphyxiation with Kaylee. Now I know they're saying the perpetrator had gloves on, but I was just scrolling past and they found one of those gloves outside. So that means the glove is off the perpetrator. So if at some point or if there's more than one, you know, if they're not wearing gloves is my point, and there was some physical contact because the physical injuries show there was physical contact from the perpetrator, there should have also been DNA from that. And I have not seen anything mentioned about that in the forensics. All right, report number 9 here. 37.1 and 37.2. Right there. Oh, wait, highlighter. Is from 1127 King Road, apartment 1. And they took it from the entry hallway and the west kitchen wall. All right. We're going to go through this. And then I was also curious about item 38 and item 39 because they actually named John Showalter with that one, with 38 and 39. So I have, there's the circumstances around this are what I'm questioning. Okay. Not what it is. I can clearly see what it is. It is, what are they doing? Like, what are they showing? What were they trying to match here is what I'm getting at. Okay, so report number 9 is just saying what these items are. So 37, I told you what that is. And then it's just saying that they were examined for the purpose of DNA. Okay, so that's all that report is about. So then we go to report 11. And I know that's on like 7. I have that one written down. Report 11 is on, oh, I have 13 on page 705. Okay. Get that out of the way. Going to report 11. Did that one. And report 11 is going to be a narrative of what they did when they went to that house. Oh, what is this? Oh, look what I just lucked onto. Let's see. It says number 11 right here. If you guys can see that. These are their field notes. Let's see if I stumbled onto something. I added a note as requested by Post-its and made notes on others. BPA pages, window lock page. Let me see if it mentions something about the house, the 1127 house. 1122, 1122. This is talking about Liz Q testing. I don't see anything about not the crime scene house, but it did say report 11. Oh my goodness. Hope you can't hear my stomach. That's crazy. Here we go. Okay. It's just attached to it. It's all part of 11. Okay. Looking at page 1 of that report. I know we've looked at this a million times, but I'm just going back. This is my 4th dive into this to try to figure this out. So on November 16th, 2022 at 19:12 hours, Carrie Hogan, Haley Youngling, Jenny Ayers, Wyatt Berry, and I. So I is Dustin Blaker. Arrived at the Idaho State Police District 2 office to assist with a homicide investigation. Detective Talbot was present upon our arrival. Detective Talbot briefed us on the scene information. Okay. So this paragraph is going to be about 1122. So I'm not going to read that part. And this page just goes through all of what they saw and what was collected. So these are their markers. So like, for example, between the first and second floor, I think this is what Pav was showing in his videos, the markers on the stairs going from the first floor to the second floor, all the blood stains and the marker numbers. So they've got that in here. So I want to go to the other location. This paragraph is talking about, I believe, Eric Gower's Prius, right? Was that his car? Because they took this 2011 Toyota Prius and they went through it for DNA evidence. All right, this is the page I'm talking about. So this is page 663, if you want to jot that down, in report number 11 of the forensic Idaho State documents. I got a comment here. I thought I saw that the theoretical BK DNA on the sheath was amplified in the ISP labs. Othram said it wasn't. Was anything else amplified? Yeah, I don't be hating. I don't know about the testing. I would go to what did she rename her channel? I always want to say Audrey C. It's Glitch DNA Labs is a YouTube channel that is covering the DNA process. So in my live before this one, I linked her page because I was going to show a video of hers. I didn't end up showing it, but she has good information about the process of the DNA. She's like a process person. She's not really a DNA expert, but she is a report expert, if my understanding is correct. And she's a process expert. So she is looking at, what did they say they did? How did they do it? How are they documenting it? Is it matching? What would be her term she would use? Probably not ethically, but is it just matching up and making sense with the process? And I think she's found some issues. Yeah. Love her. Okay, so this is October 18th. So 5 days after the crime at 21:17 hours. So 1 in the morning is 100 hours. So this is 3 hours before midnight. Someone yelled at me about my Army time, and I always have to do the math. 21:17 would be what, 8:17? I could be off an hour. 9:17? Either way, they're going at 8 or 9 at night to this apartment. I just think that's interesting. They arrived at blank to assist in the search of an apartment. F.S. Hogan was accompanied by Detective Talbot and Sergeant Van Leuven. Okay. Blank is an apartment building consisting of 2 stories. Apartment 1, and they already named this, right, in the documents with item 37, 1127, apartment 1. So apartment 1 is located on the ground level and is a multi-bedroom apartment with two bathrooms, a living room, and a kitchen. There is a hallway with a kitchen to the north and a living room area to the north of the kitchen. There's at least 2 bedrooms east of the kitchen. There are 2 bedrooms south of the kitchen on the east side of the apartment. The response was limited to the southeast bedroom. Now, wait a minute. See, this is why I read these multiple times. I thought the item said that they went from, they just went to the entryway and the kitchen. Now they're talking about a bedroom. So let's make note of this right here. The response was limited to the southeast bedroom. Hogan performed 2 presumptive tests for the presence of blood on the south wall of the entry hallway. If you're listening, help me make sense of this. The response was limited to the southeast bedroom. And now they're talking about 2 presumptive tests for the presence of blood on the south wall of the entry hallway, marker 1. Entry hallway to the bedroom? Entry hallway to the house? This one is more specific. It says east wall of the kitchen. Well, does he have a kitchen in the bedroom? So they did that testing and they had positive results for the presence of blood on both stains. Okay, you guys seeing this? FS Hogan cleared at approximately 22:24. So 10:24. So they were there for what? 21 to 20, an hour. All right, so that's what they, more specifically, what they collected and where they collected it. You got to watch these reports too, because like, look, this is attached to this report, but then it starts talking about cigarette butts. Like they just put things in several different reports. I'm scanning this to see if I'm missing something about this number. This handwriting right here by Jenny Ayers is very hard to read. This is dated the 16th, not the 18th, so it might not be about the house that I'm talking about. I thought this was interesting. These are Talbot notes. These are crime scene response briefing notes. So when Talbot like briefs the other officers, he's giving them information and also like thoughts. So it says 29 to 30 DNA swabs collected. Entry, exit, talking about that. Why did this stop working? Interesting. I don't know. Wearing gloves, question mark, because there's no prints, but there were prints. And it's not just prints from L5 and L6. They got latent prints from like, I think either 4 items total or 4 other items. So I will be looking into in the future. 2 main areas, no real transfer between. And I said on Dago's Live last night, it's going to be very telling if there is no transfer of blood. And we're seeing this handwritten in a report on page 668 in the forensic documents that they observed no real transfer between the 2 main areas. So the 2 main areas would be Maddie's bedroom and Xana's bedroom. And in my opinion, I think common sense would tell you if there's one perpetrator, you're going to be transferring a lot between the scenes, especially I would think it would be transferred between victims. And we need the medical report in order to see that. So there's a few. There's the blood stain on the beer pong table is Kaylee's blood. So if that's coming from upstairs, like they say, would you consider that it's transferring, right, from one scene to another? Now, some people are saying that's evidence of a different scene. Also, Maddie and Kaylee's blood being on the stairwell, on the half wall. So is that transfer or is that a different scene? Those are questions. I would like to see more of their thoughts about it. Anybody out there listening have thoughts about that? There's 84 of you in here. Please hit that like button for me and share your thoughts with me if you could. Let's see. What else does he say? Anything else? Just 3D scans, pre-post videos, photos done. Is that a 900 before and during movement of victims? Okay. Tri-level, just describing the house, tri-level. I was looking to see if there's anything about the other apartment. And we're going to move on to report number 13. This is where the questions come in. Page 709. It's the one page I wrote down. If you are a member of the channel, I have 2 documents that I have shared with my members. One is my notes from the Moscow Police Department documents that I am reading uninterrupted. So you can just listen to what the document says without any of my opinions. Just instead of reading it yourself, you can listen to the videos. They're short, like less than 30 minutes or less. I do about 10 documents at a time, and I'm taking notes on a document that I shared with members. And then I'm also working on a table document to record all of the DNA evidence, the item number, what it is, where it was, and what were the results. I feel like I'm starting to get a cold. Oh no, this is bad. I'm feeling stuffy. I blame it on the weather. I'm just going to type in the number. This scrolling is ridiculous. Here we go. Gigantic document, trying to find a needle in a haystack. All right, page 705, document 13. You can see I already have it marked up from our previous live. Don't claim it. I feel fine. I don't have my crystals in here. I do have zinc and vitamin C tablets. Yes, I will start taking that. Yes, good idea. I have all the stuff. Carlos laughs at me. I have so much. But when you don't take it and you stay up too late, my body always gets run down and I get sick. All right, item 37. Here we go. Same description. Uh, 23, 24. So you can see in these documents, we're on document 13 and we're talking about items. Now we're in the 40s, right? 40s and starting the 50s, because that's how the documents go. The further you get through the forensic documents, the higher up the numbers of the items are, but they sometimes go back to the beginning. Like this one mentions 1.5. 1.5 was not mentioned in document 2, where they're talking about 1.1 through 1.4. So it's weird that they do that. And then they'll bring up other numbers. So you have to read these very carefully. I'm looking for 37 right here. Okay, this is where it says it. So everybody that said, it doesn't say male C, it does right here on page 708. The DNA profiles obtained from items 37.1 and 37.2 were determined to be from the same unknown male, male C. So my question is, they go down to JD's house. They take 2 samples, 2 swabs. They test them. Are they comparing it? They didn't do IgG, so they're not finding out who it is. All of these are comparisons. They have to compare it to either someone they swabbed, but so no, we got to rule that out. They did not compare these to someone they swabbed, because then they would know who it was. So they're comparing it to, in my opinion, an object that, and it sounds like an object that probably had mixed DNA on it, like when they say a 2-person mixture or a 3-person mixture, and we know one of them is male, but they don't know who the male is. They've like ruled out Ethan, and a lot of them they ruled out Bryan. I will show you which ones they ruled Bryan out. So there's something, but they're not telling us what. There's something that has blood on it. So that's why I'm asking, is it 1.3? Is it 1.3? What do you guys think? Hey, James, there you are. It's good to see you. So what do you guys think? What is that unknown male C? Do we know, and I'm just missing it? You brought me some crystals in the chat. Thank you. I think I have one behind me. I have some amethyst. That'll help me. You guys see it? Isn't it pretty? Get it to glitter. There you go. Oh, let's see. What are they comparing? Those are your guesses, James? I don't know. Othram is trying to get IgG into the court system as a standard for MULA. Yeah. Did you see they're looking at the John Benet Ramsey case? Yes. Yeah. I just read something about the John Benet Ramsey case, something with the DNA and like what the holdup was or whatever. I don't understand why. I like them using the IgG for old, cold cases that have been like cold forever. And I don't know. I don't know about maybe as a last resort of a current case, but even the guy, I have a video clip saved somewhere. I'll have to pull it out, not today, but in the future. There was an interview, I think it was Defense Diaries. Defense Diaries had on the Othram owner, the guy, and they're talking about the DNA, and he even said, because I clipped it, I was like, ooh, that's great. You can't just rely on the IgG. You have to back it up with other evidence. You have to back it up with other evidence. Yeah. All right. So I am not seeing anybody in chat telling me what male C is. So my next, I did skim looking for it. This is the only place where I've seen the words male C show up. So again, this is page 708. And we can't tell who else besides Ethan are not the source. Okay. I would assume Jack, Decor, probably other people that live in that house. They would have had to have tested everybody else in that house, right? It was in someone else's house. Okay, I'm going to see if I labeled anything else in here that, oh, hey, here. Okay, so here we go. The major unknown male B DNA profile obtained from item 30. So item 30 is, this is why I'm getting confused. Okay, this is why I'm getting confused. Male B is item 30. Okay, what's item 30? Item 30 is the bottom of the handrail. I'm going to assume that's on the first floor stairway because it doesn't say which floor, but I think it's the first floor stairway because all of these, like up here, it says above stairwell, upper floor banister. And now they're talking about the kitchen. And now item 30 is the bottom of the handrail. 31 is the edge of the half wall. So safe to say item 30 is what Pav was talking about in the stairwell. Item 30 is male B. And I'm not pretending like I'm the first person that has found this. I know Miss Potts has dug through all of this stuff. It's the first time I'm doing this myself. So always shout out to the wonderful creators that have done some of this stuff way before me. All right, so male B is in the stairwell on the first floor. The unknown male C profile obtained from item 37.1. Okay, so hear my confusion. 37.1 is male C. $37.1 is male C. $37.1 came from JD's house, 1127. It must not be anybody that lives there. Why are they connecting that house, those stains, back to 1122? Like they could walk into any house in that neighborhood on that campus and find some blood swabs and name them something. How do they know to connect this back to the house? Because my question was, I thought they were comparing the blood in that house back to something at 1122. Because they said it matched. Let me pull this out again. Do you see the wording? It's confusing, and I feel like it's confusing on purpose. That just says there's positive blood. What number is this? 11. 9. Are you guys understanding what I'm asking? Or sometimes I look at things very different than other people. And so I don't know if you're understanding, because Jack picked up the knife at the house on King. You think? So I didn't bring those papers in with me. I'm so mad at myself. Did I? No. In my last DNA live, we'll go back to item 38 and 39. Item 38 and 39 matches to Jack Showalter. Okay, they call him John Showalter in the document. The item that they said they tested had a number like, I think it was 261 and 264 or something like that. There is no item 261 and 264 in the forensic documents. And Lucy, always coming through, told me you have to go to the state agency list. So the state of Idaho, the ISP, has their own list of numbers for the evidence. So I went to that. I printed it out. Of course, I left it in my other room. But I looked up what those numbers were, and it said they were a swab. So to me, I'm assuming a swab of a person. It just said a swab. And then item 261 and 268 matched Jack Showalter. So again, a swab of what? And it looks like it's connecting something into the house. Now, I jumped ahead to that, but these are my confusions. So back to 37.1. Okay, it's definitely not that one. And then I'll just finish with this part. The partial unknown male D obtained from item 40. That's the glove. So D is on the glove. C is from that apartment. And B is from the first floor stairwell. Okay. And I would think if I was a forensic DNA defense expert, this would have been a big part of the argument. And I addressed this part of the sentence right here on my last live. Male B, male C, and male D are not eligible for entry into CODIS. And I am concerned if that is a true statement or not. I shared information about CODIS on my last live, and it did not read to me like that was an accurate statement. The information I found that I read about CODIS from government agency websites clearly stated that law enforcement agencies, when they have a homicide, they are able to upload 5, like the standard is 5 for a single homicide, pieces of DNA into CODIS, samples of DNA into CODIS, however you want to word it. If there's multiple victims, they'll increase it to 8. And if you're not getting any hits and it's, a major like quadruple homicide, something like that, they didn't say that specifically in the document. I'm just saying that because they said you could at request to enter more. Right? But we had somebody testify on the stand this statement right here, that they were not eligible for entry into CODIS. So which one is it? This is my question. Just asking questions. Okay, now I know that. Where's my paper here? Because there's a couple other documents where this item is, I think, report 26 on page 1308. I'm so glad I wrote down the page number. 1308. This is document 26. Oh, no. All right. So that was all for. All right. I'll come back to that one. Let me go back because I'm just gonna clearly stop with my questions about item 37.1. Let me go back to page 705. No, I can't. Okay. You guys, this is coming on so fast. Like I'm feeling like feverish. Oh no. Oh, you know what else I take, you guys? Just speaking of like holistic, this is no medical advice here. It's just like things that could help boost, possibly maybe to boost your immune system is oregano oil. Have you guys ever heard of that? I have oregano oil pills and they're like natural antibacteria, antiviral. So I take those too. And another thing I do, this is so gross. This is our comic intermission. I will grate raw garlic and I make toast and I grate it on it. And it is so hard to eat because garlic is super spicy. Like it just burns, but that's also a really good thing to guard against a cold. So I'm going to do those things today. And then when I come back on another day this week, we'll see if it worked or not. All right, let me see your comments. Yeah, am I still allowed to go home for Thanksgiving? Yeah. Yeah, that's very telling when that's your Oh, okay, Danny. So, yeah, I was talking about the 37.1 is unknown male C. And you had said, was it the person that touched the knife? I cannot find that kitchen knife anywhere in the forensic files that shows that it was tested, that it was even tested. Again, it might be buried in there and I just haven't found it yet. So if you have found that, let me know. The actual item, the knife on the beer pong table, it is listed. It is listed as an object, but I don't even know if they tested it. So again, that could have been another thing that the defense could use. I can't believe people still think he's innocent. I can't believe people still think he's innocent when he admitted to it. Oh, WMW, hello, welcome in. Please, if you did not watch the beginning of this live, watch, maybe the first like 15 minutes or so. I get right into it and I show a video of a real person who admitted to something he did not do. He was exonerated, completely exonerated, after spending about, I think it was 12 years in prison. And it'll show you exactly why that happens and how that happens. And I'm not going to speak for other people, although I've spoken to many creators and other people in chats in here. I want to see that that they have the right guy. We're trying to verify things, but the only thing for sure is the DNA on the knife sheath 1.1 that they're saying tested and matched Bryan Kohberger. There's I have to go back and look at the cars now that the car footage has come out, but I believe I've seen both sides of that car argument from people saying about the floodlights and it is his and it isn't his. And I don't know. I'm still on the fence about that. I haven't dug into that enough. Because you say it was seen at the address in person and his car on CCTV, his DNA and all the digital links to the address. Well, we haven't seen the digital forensics yet. That's what do you think, WMW, that with the way that they were, and I'm just having a discussion with you. You're welcome here. My husband and I, he thought Bryan was the right guy from day one, and I don't. And so we debate and discuss it all the time. Do you think that it's odd that the court system was, on a pretty steady schedule with releasing everything, and now there's been this big long pause? Because it seems like probably the next thing they're going to be releasing is the digital evidence, I would think. Please provide the link to BK in person or car. Yeah. I'm curious about that too. Where do you see BK in person at the house? I wonder if any LEOs are exempt from giving DNA or their DNA being part of CODIS as part of being LEO. That's a good question, because if you are a federal level employee, is your DNA already in that database? Do they make you already put it in there? I'm comparing that to like when you're a public employee, like as a public school teacher, they have to have my fingerprints on file. Like you have to do that when you get hired. You have to have your fingerprints on file. So if you're a state employee, like a state police officer, that's a good question. I don't know. So then if they already know they're in there, good question. There's no fog lights on BK's car. I thought it was the opposite. That's why I'm confused. Now it's coming out, the DNA was a resubmission after they didn't get a match. Does Audrey address that, or was Miss Potts talking about that? Hi, True Crime Unleashed. Yeah, we do put trust into these people. Like I don't know. I guess you can't do that with anybody. Like you should see me with medical doctors, man. They have to prove everything to me, everything. I've been burned too many times. So you have to show me. You have to show me and prove stuff. It shouldn't be available in a criminal data. Oh, so William, you're saying like if like federal level or state level law enforcement has to submit that information, it would be like in a separate. Yeah, that makes sense. It'd be in a separate database. Oh, Lana was talking about it. Okay. Yeah, she's the goat. I don't want to I definitely trust what she shows. Although I do have something to question, and I don't want to go not going against what she said, because I've been watching her coverage of the 1260 Walenta house, right? And we know who lives there. So I think that's a good piece of evidence, or a good location to look at, because we know who lives there. And I'm wondering, and I was talking about this with another creator last night. And I was reading the document. So I was reading document 14, I believe it is, in the Moscow Police Department. And I also made a little short. I have a shorts video on my page where it's just talking about Matt Moy's house, 1260 Walenta. Okay. The people in that house are saying, two of them are sleeping. I think like one was sleeping all night. One came home from the bars and went to sleep. And the other one was sleeping and had to get up at 2:30 in the morning. And I feel like the training that he went to was probably an ROTC type training, but that should have been easily verified. So if I was brave enough to call people, I would call up the ROTC right now and ask them that. I did go to their website. And like I tried to go to just the Idaho University website and look up their ROTC information. It mostly just gave like their courses, but a lot of their courses do have, they call them labs, but they're done outside in real life scenarios. And it did say that some of them started like 3 a.m. Like that's it. I did read that. Now I might not have read that on the U of I site. I might have read that on like the more national site of ROTC, but I think that's a possibility. But I also think, hi, Bubbly, I would think that should have been like, that could be verified. It should have been verified back in 2022. Okay. So then, okay, if you went to that training and then you went to BW3s to have late lunch, early dinner, and then you went home, that's what that person is saying. That could have easily been verified. But I haven't seen a report where it is verified. So that, because of that, I started thinking the reason why we think there's like, that doesn't sound like there was a party going on at that house. Everybody that lives there said they were sleeping or getting up early to go to work. So if there wasn't a party at that house that night, I think it definitely looks like there was a party at the house across from the 1112 camera. There's several police reports that say people were at a party at blank house. Blank house. Is that tree house? I don't know. Is it a sorority house? Is it I know when I read the documents, I think I'm pretty good at picking out when they're talking about Sigma Chi. So I'm not confusing the Sigma Chi party. I know how to see that. You think the party was at Blake Avenue. Okay. And if you're a person like me who is having a hard time, and trust me, I have followed this case since day one. And up until a few weeks ago, I still could not grasp my head around, and I'm not a spatial person. I have a very hard time with directions. But I kept going to Google Earth and just looking and turning and walking the, street view. And so I have a much better understanding. So I think Blake Avenue is going to be, it's on the side of Linda Lane, right? Like past Linda Lane. Do I got that right? So yeah, so I'm thinking the reason everybody, I think, jumped to the conclusion that it was Matt Moy's, there's a party there because we know that name. We knew the house he lived at. And the Banfield kid said, oh, I was at my buddy Matt's party, right? Something like that. So logical conclusion. But last night, it just dawned on me after thinking about this again. I'm like, what if there's another Matt? Matt's a very common name. So Bubbly, every time we need a name Bubbly, I say, I bet Bubbly has it. So let me see this here. If he hosted the surprise birthday party, there's no way he went to bed any earlier than 3 or 4. It was also his interview article. Okay, maybe I need to go look at that interview. Do you know who the surprise birthday party was for? I mean, we don't have to answer all these questions right now. That's just where my my thinking is going, right? So can we either collect more evidence that there was a party at that house, at that 1260 house? Because, and I'm not arguing with the dog barking there, like the dog barking noises. Like I don't at this point have an opinion about that. I was just thinking of where the party would have been. Yeah, and also his sister having the initials MM, and someone pointed out that there's that, I believe it was a text message, right? From, was it Bethany? I don't know if it was Bethany or Dylan or one of the victims that had a text from MM or to MM, and we all assumed it was Madison Mogan. But now here we have another MM. So Reed's brother. Okay. All right. Have you done videos on those, Bubbly? I'm going to go over and watch those. You guys make sure you head over to Bubbly's channel and watch her videos. You're my go-to for people. For names, for sure. Okay. I am on back to the DNA. And then I'm going to wrap this up and go take some zinc. Bubbly, did you hear me talking about my questions about this item 37.1? So it says DNA profile obtained from item 37.1 and 37.2 were determined to be from the same unknown male C. That DNA was taken from JD's house, 1127 apartment 1. And they're calling it an unknown male. So I would assume they tested it against everybody that lived there. And my question is, besides him being the ex, why go to that location? Page 708 is the one that names B, C, and D. And then I wanted to go to, what did I say, 26? I think report 26. And then I'll probably end with this. Oh no, 26 was that other item. I was explaining it great earlier. Why I'm so confused, because they're wording it differently in two different documents, in my opinion, the way I'm interpreting it. This is 12. I want 11. My question is, what are they comparing? .1 is 2 blood swabs from the kitchen and the hallway at 1127 King Road, apartment 1. And it's unknown male C right here. Blank is an apartment building consisting of 2 stories. Apartment 1 is located on the ground level and is a multi-bedroom apartment with 2 bathrooms, a living room and a kitchen. There is a hallway and a kitchen to the north and a living room area to the north of the kitchen. There is at least 2 bedrooms east of the kitchen. There are 2 bathrooms south of the kitchen on the east side of the apartment. The response was limited to the southeast bedroom. What does that sentence mean? Response to what? The response to go there and collect evidence. So we're just going to the bedroom. Okay. So we're going to the bedroom, southeast bedroom. F.S. Hogan performed 2 presumptive tests for the presence of blood on the south wall of the entry hallway, marker 1, and on the east wall of the kitchen, marker 2. They used orthotolidine and they had positive results. So they were both blood at that house. Okay. So they test it. They must test it against everybody that's in oh my God, what was I saying? They tested against everybody that lived at the house. Tested everybody that lived at the house. Oh, I think I want to go to 705 right there. Okay. Now they're going to say 37.1. The DNA profiles obtained, so the swabs. So the swabs they took from 37.1 and 37.2 were determined to be from the same unknown male C. But they're saying, I'm so confused. They're saying these are male C. So how are these the same as male C if these are male C? Do you see you guys see what I'm saying? It's like saying, you know, let me show you. Where's my stream? It's like saying this crystal is from the same crystal, crystal A, and then calling this crystal A. This is crystal A, and it's the same as crystal A. What does that mean? This is pen B, and it's the same as unknown pen B. Am I making something into this that it's not? Yeah. You can't compare something that's already the same thing. Oh my gosh, someone help me. Who on here? I know Audrey's diving into like the process of things, but do we have lawyers that are YouTubers? Do we have DNA experts that are YouTubers? I need to find an expert DNA YouTuber. Am I missing somebody I'm not thinking about? Oh, we have 3 MMs. You're right, Danny Whitaker. There's 3 MMs. Molly McMichael, Madison Moy, and Madison Mogan. Wow, yeah. They are, it does show that they're trying to confuse us and point that out. And, that's one thing that when I bring this stuff to Carlos, because we don't agree on this, but he listens to that and he doesn't like that either, because it's helping nobody. It's not helping them prove their case, right? If you're so sure about what you're saying, show it, or it looks like you're hiding. And it's doing that with everything. Did they take DNA from Kaylee's bed? I bet there were dozens of on that. Oh my gosh, that's a little judgmental. She wasn't in a relationship anymore. Molly was at the grub truck. Oh, with 2 guys. Interesting. Yeah, the only mattress that they took stuff from was Bryan's, I believe. Just Bryan's. I know they took samples from the floor in both bedrooms, Maddie's bedroom and Xana's bedroom, and like doorknobs and door frames in both rooms, and the end table in Xana's room. That's all I can remember off the top of my head. But again, I'm putting together that document. So I think instead of I'm going to take the rest of this week and work on those 2 documents, because that's going to be so helpful to have for me to like have that as a go-to. But as of right now, I have not been able to find anything clarifying about this 37.1. We know where it's from, and we know that it's labeled male C, and we know that it appears that they're trying to compare it to what it is, which doesn't make sense. That does not make sense to me. So the next time I dive into the DNA, I'm going to show you I'm going to look, and if I find anything, I will come back about the kitchen steak knife that was on that beer pong table. But as of right now, I've looked for it. It's listed as a piece of evidence, but it does not look like they tested it at all. Like at all. You're going to ask somebody what she thinks. Okay. Xana sold her vanity desk. I'm not sure about that. Reading your comments. Those names sound familiar. What video again? What was I talking about? I've jumped around a couple times. A video about the DNA that they collected. Oh, the 2 people at the grub truck. Is that what you're talking about? The 2 people. I'm talking to Bubbly. 2 people at the grub truck. I will go look for that. All right. I am going to leave you guys with this. I don't know how old it is, but we have been listening to all the sounds on the 1112 camera activity from that night. And I did not go looking for this. It was a short that just showed up on my feed. So it's interesting. It's from News Nation. So gosh, I look like I'm getting sick. My face is getting pale by the second. Let's see. I gotta see which one it is. It's this one. Okay. I don't know if it's showing. Nope. Quick little short, but I know everybody's been talking about this based on what we have been seeing. Is it that one? And hearing mostly. It's this one. Okay. Best. Right there. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please make sure that you hit that.
Did Hunter tell you that he was able to open the door to Xana's room and witness Xana and Ethan in there?
He told me that he went to the door and he was trying to go through that door and he was trying to figure out what was going on in there. It's kind of like what you're hearing with that audio. He announced himself. He said, "Hey, I'm here. What's going on?" But they didn't respond. and he went in there, he seen something, and I think around 2:15 you hear when somebody truly sees something. Like, you got to remember, there's blankets, there's covers, there's the bed. So this person, they could have totally been covered up to where you just flip that blanket over and then all of a sudden you understand the impact of what really happened. They're not sleeping anymore. It is what it is. And you hear kind of like a roar, like a painful roar. And I think that's what was going on. But that's just me. That's just my interpretation of the same call that you guys are analyzing.
Okay. And everybody is talking about, the different, that 2:00 time now. And I have to say, like, I never put much credit into Ethan's mom making the 2:00 comment, because I just thought at first I thought that's a common saying that people say when, you're waking up in the middle of the night because something awful happened in your life. It's a dark hour. So that's the way I interpreted it, until now we're hearing more noise at that earlier hour. And we are the noise on the my head is getting so clogged I can't think straight. The noise, the videos, yeah, and then the 1112 video camera, we're seeing things. So it just makes you go back and, hey, were we hearing this right? Does this give it more validity to go back? I did, when I watched this clip, this is from News Nation's channel, so it wasn't somebody that did anything to it. So it'd be interesting to go back and find that whole segment just to double check that, just to verify. I don't ever want to put out false information or anything like that. But we're human, and I have a corrections corner. If that ever happens, I will come back and correct things. But so yes, Danny, ginger, turmeric. I've actually been drinking that all week. My husband, Carlos, he's the co-host on here with me when we do our videos together. He calls it my witch's brew. And I juice kale and cucumbers and lemon. And then I make like a turmeric and ginger tea. And then I put pineapple juice in it to sweeten it. And I've been drinking that, but I don't know. Not enough, I guess. Not enough. All right. Thank you for watching the Christopher Ochoa story with me. If you guys joined late, go back to the beginning. I tell a story of what the crime was. Okay. That's 9 minutes. Okay. You can listen to that for 9 minutes. But after that, I play a clip of him. He pled guilty. He took a guilty plea, knowing he did not commit the crime. He did not commit the crime, and he took a plea deal. And everybody keeps saying, I would never do that. I would never do that. Well, after my 9-minute video, if you go back about 15 minutes into the live, listen to him from his own words, what he says, why he did that, what they did to him. And I also have an article that explains the tactics of what the police did to him to get that done. So can't say that, innocent people don't do it, because every week that I do a live, I am picking out a different case somewhere in this country where someone was convicted and exonerated because they were factually innocent, or took a plea deal because they were factually innocent. So it does happen. And I think it's important to point that out. So you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm sure I will see you. I know Dago is going on with Devil's Advocate later tonight, I think 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central. So I'm not going to miss that. I'm going to be watching that. So I hope you guys join me over there. Let's all go watch Bubbly's videos and get her information as well. And check back on my channel for more videos where I'm just reading the documents. So uninterrupted, so you can hear the information. I appreciate all of you. And I know James was in here and he is a member. I greatly appreciate my members. Did I miss Leslie? I know Leslie's been sick too. Hey, Leslie, if you're listening. Karmic Retribution, hello. Just going back to see GDIUP. Oh, is that Giddy Up? Is that short for Giddy Up? Hello. So many people I missed. BOUTJE. Hello. Said hi to Philip. Jeff H. I don't know if you're still listening. I don't know if I said hello to you when you first joined. Yeah, I'm going to keep diving into this DNA. So join me back probably next week, probably next Monday. I'll be ready to go with another live, and I'll see you guys then. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching, hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Subscribe, it's free and keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew now, right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife in podcast harmony. That could be unique, yeah, that's you and me. Don't forget to like and hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear. We don't always agree, but that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but that's the show. One love, two minds, letting it flow. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. We don't always agree, but you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. We dig deep with crack jokes, we call it like we see. If that's your vibe, you belong here with me. Thanks for watching, hope you felt the spark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. Please hit that like before it gets dark. It's free, it keeps us going strong. You're part of the crew now, right where you belong. Join us next time, same truth, same fire. We bring the heat and never tire. We're typically unique and proud to be a husband and wife and wild to be a husband and wife in podcast harmony. Yeah, that's you and me. That's you and me. Don't forget to like, hit subscribe, it's free. Come back again, we'll be right here with truth and laughs and zero fear.